Okay. Oops. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, it started over on me.
Welcome, Devil Deal Remnants, Women Trapped in a Mirror, and Dads Coming for the Rescue, to episode 346 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 18th of March 2020, and featuring the Sarah Jane Adventures, Whatever Happened to Sarah Jane, written by Gareth Roberts and starring Elisabeth Sladen as the eponymous Sarah Jane Smith, Yasmin Page as Maria Jackson, Tommy Knight as Luke Smith, and Daniel Anthony as Clyde Langer. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and my college graduation has just been canceled. With me are Randy Ronson McCulloch as co-host and acting technical director in Mad Matt Winchell's place.
I suck and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
I believe in you.
And Thomas Fireheart.
Really, it's one of those things where you don't know how good you've got it until he isn't here.
And yes, as we've indicated, we are short the person who normally handles all of the audio-visual things that the audience gets to see, so apologies if some things are a little out of whack tonight.
Yeah, this is technically my second time streaming anything, and the first was a game, so I just had to turn it on and game. This is
on the plus side, I'm pretty sure it's not COVID-19 and that he's going to be back with us next week. Is that
we're
accurate?
hoping. I mean,
Yeah.
he has a tendency of getting, like, stomach flu or something like that, or food poisoning, as far as I'm aware.
And that's what it sounds like it is from what he's described.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like he said he was already starting to feel better, but just didn't want to risk it.
Yeah, so maybe just gastro or food poisoning.
But anyway, so, yeah. As the week has progressed, the plague apocalypse has come down upon us like the hand of God, I swear. And whereas people before was going, it's not going to be that bad, are now cowering in their houses. My gaming groups are trying to learn how to do online gaming really quickly. And apparently, if you play video games, all the servers and customer service for every major video game producer are getting hammered hard.
I believe it.
Because people are sitting home with nothing else to do but play games from places like Blizzard.
I suspect Wi-Fi in areas that don't have a great infrastructure is probably getting throttled just by being choked out.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, if you own a restaurant, you're going, oh God, how am I going to get through this? Unless your restaurant has a drive-thru, in which case you're getting all the business. I swear to God, Aaron and I went through Culver's last Friday, and we went to the drive-thru, waited 20 minutes to get there, and finally, when the guy opened up the door to get our credit card, I was like, whoa, 2x2 hands of blue. Culver's theme is blue and white, and their gloves were matching the Culver's blue. I'm just like, whoa. I started having Firefly flashbacks right there. Oh, geez. So, anything interesting happened to the rest of you this week?
Not really.
Well, I mentioned the biggest news that I've gotten. So my classes are online for the rest of the semester. Graduation's been canceled, as well as all the award ceremonies. And I'm working on setting up our writing center to tutor from home.
Anybody else have anything interesting happen, or are they just hiding out?
Just hiding out, laying low.
Yeah. I basically fall into the category of the meme that's been going around where it's like, you really notice just how, introverted and isolated you already are if you basically have to make no adjustments to your life. Where it's like, oh yeah, I don't get out much anyway, so this is basically par for the course.
as for me, it's like just our normal weekly trip to the grocery store is like it looks like the apocalypse. The bread aisles are completely empty. Orange juice was half gone. Frozen burritos were half gone. And we watched as these guys would go with their carts laden full of bottled water. I'm like, you're buying frozen food and bottled water. What's wrong with you? Don't you know the power will go out first before the water does? Making all of your frozen food pointless. No, you want to go with canned goods. Those will stay until the end of time.
Yeah.
Come on, haven't you guys ever played Fallout? Don't you know what to collect in the case of the apocalypse? Anyway, tonight's show, we have no birthdays. Figure that one out. I looked. I couldn't find any. I was upset.
The birthdays are socially isolating.
We've got news. Some news. Geek Talk, of course, is dead because nobody wants to go to the theater right now.
If it were a normal spring break, I'd have caught up on some shows and been able to talk about them, but it is not a normal spring break.
I mean, I should theoretically be able to tell you about the latest season of Castlevania, but I just haven't been feeling it, so...
Like, I almost went to a screening of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington on Monday, but then I was like, just can't be bothered.
So we've got no Geek Talk, so we're going to go right into our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings.
Oh, that's right. I do have a review of Shame.
Oh, you do have a review. Okay.
I mentioned it in the group chat a few times, but you probably didn't see it.
No, I missed it. All right.
Of course, I didn't write out the detailed notes I had intended, but that's okay. I think I know what I want to talk about.
All right. So anyway, let's start. Like I said, normally we would be going to birthdays, but there are none. So we'll go to future episode news.
I guess as a plus, at least there are no lost stories either.
Nope. Yet.
There could be. Anyway, in a recent interview with the Radio Times, Dalek voice actor Nick Briggs states that he was unaware of the holiday special's title until the night it aired. All I can tell you is that when the caption came up at the end of the last episode saying it was Revolution of the Daleks, that was news to me, Briggs said. When I read it, it just had a code number on it, so I didn't know what it was called. But it is a very apposite title. It fits perfectly, but not in the way that you'd think. I can see why they've called it that. When the Dalek that was spotted filming in the Clifton Suspension Bridge came out, Briggs confirmed that it had indeed been for the special. It's already been filmed, and I was on set for it. It certainly wasn't a single Dalek, and there were quite a few interesting challenges, and some interesting location work as well. However, work on the special is not yet complete. I am doing some ADR this week, actually, but that's standard for the Daleks. Still no word on if the special will air at Christmas or New Year's.
All right.
I find that very interesting. The way he talks about the title, like it kind of took him by surprise, but it also makes sense. So it's clearly not like a very obvious, like, oh, this was the rebellion of, like Daleks versus Davros or something like that. But
well, it took him from surprise because, like I said, when he was doing the work for it, it just had a number or
right.
Season 12, episode 11, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the production codes they're using anymore. But he said he found it appropriate. The fun part is not the way you think.
Right.
Which means
the Daleks are spinning in a circle.
Maybe.
Yes.
Or are we going to be seeing hippie Daleks? That would be completely wrong.
Bring Dalek Mania full circle.
Oh, God, it would.
Fun.
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining a bunch of Daleks passing around a bong now. It's actually kind of amusing.
uh,
It's the revolution that was foretold in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm just trying to remember who was first against the wall.
Either that, or is it a communist revolution? Are we going to see red Daleks? A lot of them.
I think we've seen red Daleks.
We've seen the occasional red Dalek. I mean, a lot.
That's right.
Of them.
There was Brotherhood of the Daleks. That's what it was. Those were the Soviet-esque Daleks.
I almost wonder if just due to what's happening at the moment, so long as all the filming is done, that they might release it on Christmas Day just to have it out earlier, or if there is more filming that they have to do, that this might delay it until New Year because they might have to hold off on filming until later.
It looks
until all this blows over.
From what it sounds like, most of the filming for it is done. It's some post work.
Yeah.
I mean, ADR means that he's basically going in to record dialogue over the existing track because it's not strong enough.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's standard work for Dalek episodes.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like the filming's done. It's all post-production, special effects work, that kind of thing. Sounds like they got it out of the way early. Because usually we don't see a Christmas special start being filmed until July.
Yeah. Whereas by the sounds of it, they basically filmed this in the series block.
Probably because they wanted the winter weather, maybe.
Or it might have been on one of the locations that they were already filming.
Something like that.
Well, actually, I mean, do we remember what the location? Oh, that's right. They said the Clifton Suspension Bridge. I don't know where that is.
I'm not about to look it up either. I'm sorry. I'm currently using my screen.
Yeah. I thought somebody might have a better memory for locations than me, or be better at geography.
No, that's not enough for me to. That's not even enough for me to go on.
Let's see. It's something that links Clifton to Bristol.
Okay, so that's North Wales. Or is it even in Wales? I can't.
Southwest England.
Okay, I didn't know where Clifton was. I didn't know if it was crossing the England Wales crossover. And that would be Southern Wales, not Northern Wales. My brain had a massive there.
Maybe there's probably too many vowels for it to be Welsh.
No, Clifton is actually a suburb of Bristol, so.
Yeah.
Okay, the Clifton Suspension Bridge is south of Clifton. It doesn't really connect it with Bristol. Connects it with basically the southern. I think that might be basically the rest of Maine. Basically, it just crosses a river south of Clifton, which is west of Bristol. So. It's not that far a drive from them because, Cardiff's just on the other side of the...
Yeah. It's not like South Africa or something.
Right. Well, it's not like going up to, Brighton or Blackpool or someplace on the other side of England.
Or Sheffield.
Or Sheffield, yes. But it's, relatively close. A couple hours drive. So I can see why they'd use it. You want to bet the scene itself supposedly takes place in Sheffield? Because apparently now, just during the Jodie Whittaker era, all the aliens are deciding to attack Sheffield for whatever reason.
Well, Cardiff had its run, London had its run.
Now it's Sheffield's turn. Next there'll be attack at Inverness. All right. Let's move on to the next article, shall we?
Yes. The next book in Candy Jar's Bloodline series is coming soon. In this series of alternate reality books, Lethbridge Stewart needs to find the ultimate agent to fix everything, and it's Lucy Wilson. Lethbridge Stewart Bloodlines, the George Kostanen mystery, is available for pre-order now from Candy Jar Books.
So yeah, this I don't know. They've gone completely left field with this whole stuff. So I'm just like, I can't even bring it in me to care anymore, to be honest.
If anything, it's just kind of funny that there's news for them this week when Candy Jar's been pretty quiet lately.
Well, you can put.
I think they were quiet during the season itself.
Yeah, I think they were asked by the BBC to keep it low, because even Big Finish didn't announce much during the run of the season, other than their like monthly short trip. And then the second the season was over, they suddenly had everything.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's move on.
All right. So Doctor Who is making a triumphant come to Roblox. BBC Studios and Roblox today announced the launch of a series of Doctor Who-themed virtual items on Roblox, a global online platform bringing more than 115 million people together through play.
I have never actually played that.
Players can now personalize their avatar with a variety of Doctor Who-themed items, including a TARDIS backpack and avatars of the 10th and 13th Doctors, all available for free from the Roblox Avatar Shop. These items are available for a limited time, the 12th through the 26th of March, and include the Terrible Pating. This tiny terror from Doctor Who can eat any inorganic material. Thankfully, however, it won't eat any organic material, meaning you. Portable TARDIS. Funny thing about this backpack, it's much, much bigger on the inside. The 10th Doctor. 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 hands, big hair, and sideburns. This bundle is based on David Tennant's character in Doctor Who. The 13th Doctor. This bundle, made of a bit of adrenaline, a dash of outrage, and a hint of panic, is based on Jodie Whittaker's character in Doctor Who. And if you're listening to this podcast, hopefully you know this by now. These items are only available from the 16th through 26th of this month, so log on and get yours today.
Now, I know it earlier said 12th through 26th, but the bit I took on the bottom is actually from their promo picture. So, I don't know. There's some discrepancy there.
And of course, we're saying it now on the 18th, yeah.
So you've got 6 days left. Go to it, yeah.
Fewer if it's Britain-based.
And if you're seeing this next week, I'm sorry. All right. Next is our Big Finish news.
Okay. The 7th Doctor must prevent history from being perverted in this month's main range entry. In Subterfuge, Winston Churchill is running for re-election. He's not supposed to win, but the meddling monk wants to make it happen. Doctor Who's Subterfuge is now available as a collector's edition CD or on download from £12.99 at bigfinish.com. David Bradley's first Doctor Who team is back for more adventures. And the First Doctor Adventures Volume 4, the crew returns to Skaro and show up in Russia during the October Revolution. Doctor Who, the First Doctor Adventures Volume 4 is available now at £24.99 as a collector's edition CD or £19.99 on download at bigfinish.com.
I love how it is indeed the Moffat-era Churchill in the 7th Doctor story.
Oh, yes, they made sure of that.
And I mean, he's done a lot of Big Finish at this point, so I guess he just loves to come back.
Oh, yeah, he
For the lunches, of course.
Oh, yeah. For the sandwiches, he just shows up for the sandwiches. He shows up, does his role, eats all the sandwiches, and leaves. The other actors are there like, "Where's my sandwich?"
Where's my sandwich?
Ian McNeice was here. Oh.
But I just find it funny considering that means that this is going to be the Churchill that clearly they can't even deny remembers things such as the Daleks and everything else, and is going to be here dealing with the 7th Doctor.
Mm-hmm. And yet, yes, would have just dealt with the 11th Doctor like 3 years ago.
Yep.
and now is dealing with this one who's also the Doctor. I mean, is Winston Churchill just used to this now? Is he another one of these?
I mean, in his first Big Finish appearance, I believe, had and demonstrated, or it had him working with, I think, 3 of different New Who doctors. So by the time he's retiring, I'm sure he's met quite a few doctors.
Well, I mean, he's running for re-election in this. He's not ready to retire. It's just everyone else is like, time to go, Winston. Yep.
But I'm guessing if he's supposed to lose, that means this is after. Or I don't know that much about like Churchill to the point of like, because I know he stopped being prime minister and then started again. I'm guessing this is then, so this is after the war, but before his final stint as prime minister.
Yeah, this is 1945.
Okay.
So this is the tail end of the war, or shortly thereafter.
Mm-hmm. So he'll have met at least 1 or 2 doctors by this point. But...
Yeah, at this point, the war in Europe is over, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I think they still might be working on closing in on Japan, but, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, England, I don't think had much to do with that anyway. They were kind of rebuilding.
Yeah, at this point, England is just taking the big breath and going, oh, God, that's over with.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they wouldn't get rid of rationing for a while because, you know, it took a while for them to economically recover from having the crap bombed out of them by Germany.
Yep.
Just like it took Japan a good, 10 years to recover from getting the crap bombed out of them by us.
And there are still some that would say England never really recovered because they don't have their empire anymore.
Well, that was decided in the post-war thing. That was just like, okay, the empire days are over. I mean, I think Eddie Izzard goes it back going, England, what have you got behind your back? India and a couple other places?
Yep.
Hand them over. Yeah.
Like, oh no, we need the Falkland Islands for, purposes.
Yeah, it was basically decided at that point that the whole empire thing was done. You can call yourself an emperor and you could have an empire, but it's basically just a country. You know, like Japan has an emperor. Technically a constitutional emperor now because the U.S. said so, and they deal with it. That's fine. They're fine with that now, but they still call him an emperor, and they still call it the Empire of Japan, yet all it is Japan and Okinawa.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the days of there being these huge globe-spanning empires are basically done, although many people still accuse the United States of being an empire in itself.
Yeah, South America is basically a sandbox for the United States, or should I say Latin America in general is pretty much a sandbox for the United States to play in at this point.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the Monroe Doctrine.
Anyway, we're way off topic.
Yes, way off topic.
Yep.
Moving back.
Okay, so one final bit of news.
Yes. In a move that surprises no one, Big Finish has announced that it has halted all recording due to the virus that must not be named. Fortunately, this should not affect this year's schedule, as Big Finish has recorded ahead of schedule. Whether the crisis affects future years, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, it depends on the duration and the duration of the crisis, and whether if it drags on for months, it could start affecting next year's schedule. But we'll have to see. I mean, it could be the end of society as we know it. In which case,
this may force us to see just how big Big Finish's backlog is in terms of, or should I say, their buffer is.
Just to see how much they can go before. Oh no, we're out of recording.
They're like, nope, we haven't recorded since we haven't recorded in 13 months. Then why do you still have a new CD coming out every week?
Because we like stories.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, that's all the news we have. We are going to the review of Shame, which apparently Bill has, and unfortunately I don't
Yes.
have anything for that because
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't told about it until
Uh,
right before the podcast.
yeah. So this is Kenda. Um,
Oh.
and yes, so for those who don't remember that far back in the podcast backlog, that was a Fifth Doctor story with Tegan and Adric and an absentee Nissa, and is on a I wasn't prepared. I don't know why I'm giving a summary. I did not prepare for a summary. On a colonized planet, and that's
Deva Loka, and there they meet a big freaking
Yeah.
snake monster that
Yeah.
lives in your dreams and defeat it.
but
There's your
talking about
summary.
there we go, perfect. Talking about the colonialism, so that's going to be the bad part of this, and I'm pretty sure they tried not to be racist, but they did it in a very traditionally English, imperialist, racist way. Even to the point of, their depiction of the natives were, people who dressed in stereotypical quote-unquote savage get up as described by the Doctor, and then paint their faces white, went to apparently mimic the colonists, and it's just a mess, and it's not the great part of the episode. What I liked the concept of the Mara. I liked the whole the Shining-esque-ness of it. I don't remember I should have looked this up, what year Kubrick's Shining came out. I doubt it was an
1980.
intentional
It was before
or
this.
I mean even King kind of peaked in the 80s, so it can't have been much before this. So I doubt it was an intentional similarity, but they did follow something very similar where there's the descent into madness, and then you find that a lot of it has to do with this evil telekinetic or telepathic force. So there's a lot of very interesting execution there. I do wish that they had explored a little bit more of whatever it was that Adric was trying to do. It kind of did not really come to any sort of climax, at least that I felt. Which, I guess I would say my least favorite scene then is Adric just kind of like unceremoniously being back working with them after trying to work with the... Actually, no, I do have a more distinct least favorite scene, and that is the scene where the partially possibly possessed, partially just crazy guy, security chief who's in charge, is trying to get Adric to apparently play something, and they're both just like both being giant 4-year-olds. I want you to. I don't wanna. I don't wanna. I don't wanna. Like, come on. At least like, it was not Adric's good side.
Well,
Um.
to be honest, at that point, Adric was mostly just playing along because he knew he was dealing with basically a sociopath with all the power.
But that's, I mean, if he really, he was neither playing along nor meaningfully opposing him at that point. He was just being annoying.
Which
My
is
favorite
actually
scene,
a problem that whole season.
my favorite scene is the one. So they say, any man who opened the box would have lost his mind unless. And I'm sitting there, oh yeah, the Doctor's a Time Lord. He walks in eternity. He doesn't have a human mind. Yada yada. And instead, are you an idiot? Oh well, I must be. Shut up, idiot. And it fits so perfectly for the Doctor that it's just. I don't know if I've seen a moment like that with the Fifth Doctor before, but it worked. I loved that moment.
I'm pretty sure that was like, I went with that for mine, and I'm pretty sure I technically ended up stealing it from someone else.
Yeah.
I am not surprised that I'm not the only one who likes that scene. So final thoughts. Yeah, it's they did a lot of good things with with what the natives were doing, and with the big bad. Oh, that's right. I forgot. I had another least favorite scene, and that is the one where they're trying to trap the possessed guy, and there's and even specifically just the inflatable snake, and there's very clearly a giant gap that they could escape out through that nobody bothered to close.
That came up in that particular podcast.
Mm-hmm. And then even worse, Adric they're supposed to be closing up the gaps, and Adric is keeping a gap open so that he can look through. Like, for fuck's sake, Adric, stop.
He kind of comes off as like, if it wasn't the fact that Wesley came later, he's like the reverse Wesley. Adric comes along and makes things worse.
Yep, I think this, more than any other episode, gets me to understand the people that just cannot stand Adric whatsoever. So that said, my final rating, I mean, like I said, there's definitely some kind of squicky stuff about the episode, especially looking back at it 40 years later. But there's also a lot of very interesting things about the episode that I think are done well. So I think I'm going to come down on it being a 4.
And that would make it the lowest rating we had.
Ah.
Yeah, it was a straight flush of 5s.
Nope. Well, Tim was the sole 4.5.
Yeah. Well, I am the racism scholar and the anti-colonialism person, so that kind of makes sense for me to fit in that role for this particular episode, considering what my dislikes were.
So the next time he's going to review Battlefield, once he's actually manages to do the next review of Shame, will be Battlefield.
Nice.
And we'll have to argue if he ruins what's pretty much a straight 5 record on that one.
Which is funny considering it has this. I mean, I feel like I remember you mentioning it at one point because it has this reputation as being like one of the worst episodes of its season, and of course, it's part of a great season.
Yeah,
I remember liking it when I last watched it.
That is the thing, that it is considered the weakest of the 4 episodes that season.
Mm-hmm.
But then, it's a toss-up between that and Survival, the last episode. It's the 2 episodes in the middle, The Curse of Fenric and Ghostlight.
Yeah, that's right, because usually that season is described as 2 good episodes and 2 bad ones, and I'm like, but Battlefield isn't a bad one.
Yeah. But yet everybody raves about Curse of Fenric and Ghostlight.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit Survival's kind of weak. It still holds a special place in my heart because it's the very last episode of the original run.
Right.
But the plot line is kind of what the fucky. But at the same time, I love Battlefield. I've always loved Battlefield. I can't see why people don't like it. Anyway, we will discuss that another week.
Yep.
So that is our review of Shame. I would do all this stuff, but I'm controlling the board here, so trying to calculate this stuff on my phone does not work. I'm sorry, I can't do the sort and shuffle on this. It just won't do it. So I will tell you that next time. And instead, we are going to come to the summary for the actual episode this week.
Which is also me.
Hey, you get to talk a lot this week.
Okay. Do you have a stopwatch?
Just a moment.
Okay.
Uno momento, por favor. This I can put up. All right, you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right, Sarah Jane and her companions are in a skate park where Maria's dad wants to get involved. They say he's too old, and he's like, actually, I'm an expert skater who won a championship or something. And he does some tricks, and they're impressed. And then they say, yeah, but you're still too old. So they go back to Sarah's house. Maria was depressed about something. I can't actually remember what it was because I only had the chance to watch this episode once. But Sarah pulls Maria aside, gives her a puzzle box, says that she was told to give it to the person that she trusts the most, and she wants Maria to have it.
Maria's upset about the giant asteroid going to smash into the Earth.
Oh, yes, that's right. She's depressed about the fact that basically without Sarah Jane, the Earth would be fucked, and nobody knows that.
Yep.
And that actually the asteroid is kind of an important part of the episode. Kind of. It sets the time limit anyway. Majora's Mask. So Maria goes home.
That would have been an opening bump. God damn it.
We had a few opening bump ideas, but there was our editor was down, as we mentioned. So Maria solves the puzzle box. We then cut to the trickster doing tricks. We don't actually know necessarily what until the next morning when Sarah Jane does not exist. Somebody named Andrea is in her house. Mr. Smith is not upstairs. And nobody remembers Sarah Jane at all. Maria is busy trying to figure things out. And she's trying to figure out why she remembers things until she realizes that she has the puzzle box. She mentions Sarah Jane to Andrea, which causes her to remember that she did a deal with the trickster. The trickster goes to send a minion to get rid of Maria, which ends up sending her back to. First, it sends her back to the day that got changed, in which Andrea, who was originally supposed to die, made a deal with the trickster to switch herself with Sarah Jane. Then Maria then gets sent to a void where Sarah Jane has been kept by the trickster. Basically because the Earth being destroyed by something random and chaotic is really what the trickster gets off on. However, the puzzle box is now in the possession of Maria's father, and kind of the similar thing happens where he's the only one who remembers Maria even existed. Even Maria's mother has no memory of her. So while being protected by the puzzle box, he finds the trickster's minion, wallops him with a skateboard, ties him up, forces him to free Maria. They then try to force him to free Sarah Jane, but she cannot properly manifest because the deal between Andrea and the trickster has not yet been undone. They all go up into the attic to confront Andrea about it. Andrea realizes that because of the trickster using her, she may have just kind of fucked the world, and she decides that even if it results in her death, the last act of her free will is going to be to reverse the deal, bring back Sarah Jane, bring back Mr. Smith, and save the Earth from the asteroid. The end.
All right. I'm going to spot you about 7 seconds there. Because
your interruption?
Yes. I'm sorry, just that whole thought of them pointing up, there it is! And just seeing that freaking face from Majora's Mask coming down would have been freaking great. So
yes,
I'm going to say you did that in about 3 minutes, 40 seconds.
All right. So did the names already get randomized, or was not able to happen
I
yet?
got the names randomized. I apparently got the color scheme wrong, but I can fix that later. Anyway, Thomas is first.
I am thinking maybe we should do Matt's first, since he put them in the chat.
Did he actually put those? Okay, yeah. I did not see that. Yes, Matt then can go first.
He did it. Yeah, he did it after we started, so you wouldn't have been able to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I can't read them, so that's going to be you.
Mm-hmm. So what Matt liked was the trickster's actor. As opposed to some of his later showings, he was a lot more subdued and sinister, reminding Matt of enemies like Sutek from Pyramids of Mars.
All right.
I could see that. I don't know that many of the trickster's appearances, but
I think
he definitely seemed fairly sinister.
Yeah, I think he has 3 total. There's
and one of them is the one with the 10th Doctor?
Yeah. The wedding one, and there's one in between, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember the other one, but
yeah, it's like she.
It
involves
the trickster. The trickster goes back and basically tempts Sarah to bring her parents back from the dead, and it changes a whole bunch of stuff. I saw a clip from that the other day.
Yeah.
All right. Next is Thomas.
Okay. I guess just as a counterpoint to how last time I was a bit iffy on the actress for Maria. This time I really enjoyed her performance. It helped that she had a lot more to do, whereas whereas in the previous one, she was just kind of there, kind of fittingly enough, given her the actress's name. She was a bit of a Yaz, that she was just kind of there. Whereas this time she's carrying the majority of this because it's essentially a Sarah Jane Light. Yeah, I think she did a good job.
All right. Yeah, this one is kind of I mean, it's kind of like they knew this one was going to be kind of Clyde and Luke light, so they made sure the episode before was Clyde and Luke heavy.
Right.
Last week was the Clyde and Luke show, and this one is Maria's story with a little bit of Clyde and not a lot of Luke.
Yeah.
Maria and family.
Yep.
Which
actually segues.
I was going to say this is something that the current Doctor Who writing team needs to learn to do. Balance it out so that each companion gets a little chance to shine.
All right. So that brings it to mine next. And what I liked actually was the way that they integrated Maria's father into this. He's the sort of character that usually gets ignored by Doctor Who and spin-offs. He's there. He might be an obstacle, somebody they have to lie to, somebody who gets kidnapped. But he's a lot more involved in this plot to the point where, he's actually involved in saving his daughter and therefore saving Sarah Jane.
Yeah, mostly in the second part of the story, but yeah.
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 At first, he's the normal disbelieving all of this, and then when she disappears, he gets going.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Tim?
Yeah.
I thought they did a very serviceable job of handling the standard plot of time gets changed, but one person remembers the original timeline. How, it didn't get too annoying with honey, you're not well, you must be sick. It was like things.
So you're saying they didn't overplay the trope?
Yeah, they didn't overplay the trope, is what I'm saying.
No.
I could see that.
As persistent as Maria is, she does start to downplay it when she realizes, my dad legit doesn't know anything.
So, I would like to feed off of Tim's, because what I like the fact that they actually kind of semi-subverted is the "It's a Wonderful Life" trope. They basically we saw the world where Sarah Jane was removed from the equation. Now
the turn left world.
The turn left world, yes.
Of Sarah Jane.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Normally, this would have raised all kinds of hell in particular. And the world would have been a cesspool pit of despair and evil. But, of course, the Trickster's like, nah, I just sent them all away. Because the It's a Wonderful Life, by the way, using the It's a Wonderful Life trope tends to be something a show does when they run out of ideas. That and the A Christmas Carol trope. Although Doctor Who actually did that one and kept going.
Yeah.
Doctor Who did both.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about what we didn't like. So what's Matt's thing?
Yes. So what Matt did not like was the digital effects, in particular the meteor. He says they were lackluster. The teleport effects were nothing new. The only really interesting thing was when Maria's father was tripping out at one point.
Oh, when he was when the world was changing around him, and yeah. And since he had the freaking Rubik's Cube of Doom, he was not getting changed with it.
So that would have been when Maria was being erased from history.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Thomas?
I guess just because it was in hindsight, it's just a bizarre choice to have running through the episode. The fact that they have Maria just be so like, yes, I'm totally gonna undo your life so you can die because I don't give a shit about you. It's just like, holy crap, that's cold.
I think Maria saw Andrea as being, the monster of the episode.
Still, it's just like, you can kind of get where fucking Andrea's coming from when she gets pissed off the first time that happens.
Yeah.
It's like, you were supposed to die. Like,
I think
bitch, get out of my house.
I think Maria at that point was pissed because she had got figured out that Andrea had to make the choice. She chose to sacrifice Sarah Jane. And that just, I think, might have just basically made her give those horrific remarks.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things. It's like, damn, this is pretty dark for a kid's show.
Yeah, that's the thing about the writing of this is it did not play down to the kids.
Yeah.
Other than the occasional, like I referred to it last week as the "Meanwhile in Angel Grove" scene. where they had to put in just to keep their children's show ratings, but yeah. Other than that, because that's the Meanwhile Angel Grove scene is the beginning where Luke's trying to figure out skateboarding. That's there, and then it's like, and now into the plot.
So that goes into me, unless Thomas had anything else to say.
No, that was about it.
Okay, so mine is kind of the opposite of the whole of what Tim was mentioning earlier, just because anytime that trope is brought up, like when Maria went to knock on Sarah Jane / Andrea's door, like the cringe was so physical in me, like those plots just like strike me so much. I had to pause the episode and eat dinner and watch another YouTube video before I could like muster up the physical ability to watch the scene that I knew was coming.
Yeah, I had to pause it like 6
show
times.
Seems to have at least one episode that does that, and I hate it when it gets there.
Yeah, I had to pause it like 6 times because it's just And unlike you, I didn't stop and do something else. I paused, I took a breath, I started to play it again, and then about 2 minutes later, I had to pause it again. Kind of, do the Dr. Tran. Okay, Yeah, it just kind of gets my goat too.
All right, Tim?
Well, Thomas sort of took mine. Yeah, I agree. Maria's reaction to Andrea was sort of like, damn, it was like, don't you even want to stop and think about the philosophical ramifications of all this? It's like, is one life worth the entire world? It's like, it's the ultimate trolley question. In a way. So, but yeah. Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, we're listening.
And really, I watched that whole bit, and I sat there and thought, what would the Doctor do in this particular bit? Because he's not really fond of the one sacrificing for the many, if he can stop it.
Yeah. I mean, we literally had a thing like that with Jodie in Series 12.
Yeah, and never been fond of it.
The Doctor would have been like, okay, we'll reverse the deal, go back, wait in the water, catch Andrea before she falls in and dies.
Yeah.
And then bring her back to the present as a kid.
Yeah, that was my thought of the Doctor going, wait a minute, you changed something. That means that point is not fixed. Excuse me while I fix this. You could almost hear him have the everybody lives moment, and just kind of the ultimate up yours to the trickster. Yeah.
Either that or the doctor would be the one in the mirror trying to stop anybody from sacrificing themselves and failing.
Unless, of course, you're Jodie Whittaker, but that's another issue. Yeah. Anyway. So what I didn't like is I really didn't like the trickster's costume. I, honest to God, don't like... I mean, the guy that's doing it is menacing and proper and stuff, but the black robe, pale face is kind of overplayed. With a living embodiment of chaos, wouldn't you think his outfit would have been a little more chaotic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He looks like the Whispermen from Buffy.
He looks like low-rent blind Voldemort, really. I mean, he's just... It's just kind of like, well, we don't have anything, so let's just get this big black cloak, put it on there, and we'll just put a nylon over your face and have a mouth installed. I'm like, yeah. No, it's not doing it for me.
I must admit, his, like, the little, like, silver thing over one of his fingers, I was almost like, wait, is that the, like, thing that Rassilon has in you?
I'm just
Or
like...
does he have, like, a glove or something?
I don't notice that. But, yeah, I don't know. I just don't like the costume. I think it's just too blah. You'd think a chaos thing would be more colorful, more variety.
Yeah.
But instead we've got hooded druid weirdness.
I guess they were like, how can we make it as different from Loki as possible? Even although Loki hadn't really hit the MCU yet.
So, it would have been fine. Well, you wouldn't need to make it Loki. I mean, even something that looked a bit like freaking like Toyman or something from the DC universe. Like a jester or, something that's a little bit, just random, looks like various pieces of various outfits were patched together in a non-Sixth Doctor way. Would have been more interesting.
Yeah, I guess the idea is they were just trying to... But, like, it wouldn't surprise me if they had a different concept and then someone saw it was like, well, that's great, but we don't have the budget for that, so, yeah, back to the drawing board.
Still, they could have scraped up, I think, a couple hundred or 100 or so pounds to put together a costume that was a little more chaotic. All right, favorite scene. And
All right, so this would be Matt.
Mm-hmm.
He says Andrea Yates sacrificing herself to not only save Luke, but also save the world with the knowledge that her death is the first step leading Sarah to do what she does.
It's kind of like I lived this completely self-absorbed life my entire time. Yeah, okay, maybe it's time to actually start thinking of others.
Yeah. And then, like, there is flat out the line where she's like, I've been dead for 40 years. So it's even as if she was basically just living the way she was to fill the void and try and forget what happened.
Well, if you look at who she was when she was 13, while more adult about it, she's basically the same core personality. She's basically throwing herself a birthday party, going, yay, me! So I'm like, and it's like, what did they say about her? Yeah, she's always throwing parties. I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't really get any picture of what she does with her life.
Yeah.
So,
Like, yeah, we don't even know. I mean, I forget how old the character's supposed to be by then. But
40,
the
I
idea
think.
is we.
Yeah, or
so, like,
40 or 53 or something like that.
They were born in... Oh, no, they were in their teens in
Teens in the
64.
60s,
So they
yeah.
were born in roughly 50, and this was... So this would have been like 58, 50, something like that years after that.
Yeah. They were
Mm.
born
Plus or
in, they were
minus a
born in
couple.
51, so
Hmm.
yeah.
Mm.
I don't know what season. This was the first season, so it would have been like
No,
2007, I
If
think.
if the event happened in 64, they were 13 years old. They brought that up.
Mhm.
So you do that, that's 51.
Oh, you're saying when they were kids. I thought you were saying how old the adult characters are.
Well, yeah, and then you go 51 to
Right.
what
Well,
was
I'm
it?
saying, so it's 2007 when this aired?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, then they're 56.
So yeah. Well, plus or minus, given the fact that the Doctor Who universe tends to be a little ahead of us.
Mm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So that would be...
You.
That was Matt's, right?
Or was
Yeah.
that Matt or was that Thomas?
Oh, that was Matt.
Okay.
So Thomas is next.
Yeah. Oh. Trying to, let's see. I guess. I guess it's kind of cheating because it's kind of right before the scene that that Matt went with, but I like the scene. Like, I'm gonna go with the scene right before that where they're confronting Andrea about it, and specifically the bit where Maria does the thing again of like, I'm sorry, you were meant to die, and she's just like, do you know what the I was meant to die? Fuck you, I was like a teenager, god damn it. Like, it's just nice that she has that moment of being able to verbalize like, hey, what the fuck, that's a pretty fucked up thing to say. And generally just it's the only, like, she's not villainous at all, but that's a moment where she gets to at least be pretty fucking angry, like, hey, I deserve to live, fuck you.
All right.
Makes sense.
Bill?
Yes, I've been trying to settle on mine. Since, I mean, definitely the one that Matt said would have been a serious contender for mine. Otherwise, I think I'm going to go with the scene of Maria's parents, like, talking about, like, yeah, she exists. Don't you remember her? Like, no, look in the photos. I never had a daughter. I know you wanted to have a daughter. Like, I think it was done really well, and I think it was... I don't know if it was because it was a character I was so removed from, or because we had already come to expect that in the episode, but I didn't have that, like, that cringe factor that you usually get in that sort of, like, alternate reality scene. So I was able to process it a lot easier. And I thought that was, and I just, found that scene done really well, especially since it was doing what it was doing to bring Maria's father into the fold of being involved in the plot.
All right. Tim?
I just love the scene of Maria's dad on the skateboard in the park, showing off his rad moves. However, I didn't like the fact that he didn't have a helmet. Always think safety first, sir.
It is kind of funny that there's like the thing of, I mean, thankfully they don't have a kind of hypocritical thing where he's like, hey, remember to have your helmet on or whatever, but then does it without one.
All right. So I don't have favorite scenes so much as favorite scenes, and what I really liked were the flashback scenes. The ones with young Sarah Jane and those I really liked. Because I thought they were well done, and the actors that they got to play actually I thought did a decent enough job.
Oh yeah.
All right. So least favorite. And Matt's
Right.
first.
So, yep, and very distractible. Okay. So Matt says his least favorite moment was Andrea Yates wishing Maria's father away, as if this was going to fix anything, as the last one came back to bite her again.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is snowballing. How many people do you have to keep wishing away? Send him to the
Lady
cornfield.
Macbeth.
Send him to the cornfield.
We can't send him to the cornfield. There's children in it.
It's like every bad like murder episode of a show where they're just like, shit. The detective is onto me. Kill the detective. Oh shit, the detective's wife is onto me. Kill the detective's wife.
Well, gee, they're not going to find me in this mountain of bodies I have stacked around me. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's like Villain 101. They're becoming a nuisance. Eliminate them. Well, gee, you're just warning everybody else that you're becoming evil. Thank you.
All right, Thomas.
Mine's very nitpicky, and I didn't really want to consider it an aspect, so I'm gonna have it be a scene. So she shows up. Maria shows up in 1964, and the song that's playing on the radio is "You Really Got Me" by the Kinks. That was recorded in July of 1964, but it didn't come out in the UK until August. This is set in July or June.
Wow,
so
that
the
is a
song
nitpick.
wasn't even fucking out yet.
that is a nitpick
Yes.
and a half.
Yeah.
Worst
That
episode
always bugs
ever.
me. That always bugs me because it's such an easy fix. Why did you go with the song that wasn't out?
I get what you mean. Because I do this with fan fiction. I read a lot of Harry Potter fan fiction these days. And one of the things that they do, one of the tropes that they have is Hermione basically spends the summer showing Harry, actual like culture and stuff, and they go to movies. And I'm always like, what movie are they going to? Was that out in 1990X?
Yeah. Like I knew even like as I was watching it, I even did like the stereotypical actually voice. Because I knew how nitpicky it was, but I was still like, I'm still just gonna bring it up just because that always kind of bugs me. But it's like it's such an easy fix. It's like,
But it's such a good song.
it's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake has like Sweet Home Alabama, even though it's set like a year before the song came out or something like that. Where it's like,
I understand that when it's a month, when it's a song that's in the wrong year. I don't argue if it's a month wrong. That's where I'm going. Wow, that's a nitpick.
Yeah.
And I just look at it like, unless like that, like there's something about that song that was so symbolic that that it's worth bending time and space around it. I'd be like, couldn't the editor have just been like, yeah, you need another song?
Well, they probably just looked it up, released in 1964. This is 1964. That works. And to be honest, that's the same kind of checking I would have done, so I can't blame them. Actually,
So
no,
that's something for all of you
I-
period piece and historical fiction writers to know. Look up the month.
Actually, I was about to take that back. I look up the season. It's summer. Was this released in the summer? Yes, it was. That's good enough.
Only thing is, they probably could have got away with using a Beatles song, but that probably would have cost too much.
Oh, yeah, that probably would have cost too much. That's expensive. That's some expensive stuff right there. All right, Bill,
So
how about
that
you?
brings to me, and I know this is stupid because it's so similar to the scene I picked for favorite, but I mentioned all the cringe factor and everything already. And I'm going to go with the scene where Maria is going, I'm going to go over Sarah Jane. Who's Sarah Jane? Oh, I'm going to talk to Luke. Who's Luke? And I don't like it.
I don't like it, the fact that she has to do it with her father, with her, and with Clyde.
Right, yeah.
I
I think that was just so that Clyde isn't like forgotten by the episode.
Yes, I know, but they drag it out too. It's absolute
Yeah.
freaking dental work.
Mm.
When you're getting to when they get to it doing it with Clyde, I'm just like, oh come on, get a fucking clue.
Yeah. It does seem like the easy fix would have had Clyde, like, not knowing her well enough and just being like, oh yeah, you're pulling my leg, and then just hanging up on her.
Yeah, but instead they drag it out, and I'm just like,
Mm.
They drag it out because they want Clyde to know about the meteor, but it's just, and the fact that she does say that is absolutely like, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
she's supposed to be brighter than that.
Yeah. Tim.
Okay, least favorite scene. I really didn't care for the trickster saying, "Oh, I sent them away" to Sarah Jane when Sarah Jane says, "Wait, what about all the things I stopped?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I just sent them away." It's like that's the most hand wavingest, lamp shadingest fix to like uh qu- a potential plot problem for this episode that I've ever seen. You know?
Well, the
Yeah.
thing is, you would have had to go through countless stuff. Because
Yeah.
not only are you dealing with, everything that's happened in the previous stuff, you're dealing with all the shit Sarah Jane dealt with before the series, not to mention all the shit she
Yeah.
dealt with in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
That was the thing where I was like, huh. So
Like-
how did the Hand of Fear play out now? And stuff like that.
How did Death to the Daleks go?
Mm.
How did, the Loch Ness Monster happen?
Right.
Mm. Of
Hell.
course, it would be funny. Like, you would half think someone from Big Finish would go, aha! It's this alternate time frame that we can fudge a new
Oh yeah, I'm
companion in.
surprised they haven't jumped all over that. I mean, you think about it, the Time Warrior would have been different.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. I mean, if this other character had filled Sarah Jane's shoes and actually had filled in there and was basically a working alternate Sarah Jane, but she wasn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, there's a big fucking gap hole there.
Mm.
Because you've just blown a chunk of a hole in two doctors' lives.
Mm.
Holy shit! How would the 5 Doctor had come out? Not to mention Canine and Company would have been boned too. And is it Canine like holding a black hole there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the trickster sent it away.
Or
Well, that
just
makes me
let
wonder, was the
K9
trickster
alone.
mentioned in the episode of in Can You Hear Me Now? Because
I
I
don't
feel like the
think so,
trickster
no.
is like on that level of all those other things that were
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah, I think the trickster is the only one that isn't.
And a thought just occurred to me: wouldn't a meteorite killing everything end the chaos? Like,
Yeah, you'd get a moment of pure chaos followed by boredom.
Yeah.
And on that note, can I take my turn now?
Mhm.
okay,
Because that's a good segue.
Yep.
Okay, science fact check, people. A meteorite of that size entering Earth's atmosphere, enough that it's going to enter all life on Earth, and swerving at, what was that, about 200-300 feet above the planet's surface,
Mm.
still would have been an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
It would have ripped out a chunk of the Earth's atmosphere when it turned.
Mm.
Science, they've done projections.
Well, don't you know Mr. Smith is just that good?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only hand wavy on it, but still.
That
Yeah.
that was a little hand wavy on it itself. They're like, oh yeah, Mr. Smith is just gonna fix it.
But,
No problem.
well, I could see it if they did that kind of thing with some kind of repulsor beam while it was way the fuck out, like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
way
Yeah.
the hell out. But there is a point that, you're at terminal distance. And it's
Yeah.
well before, visual range from the planet's surface.
Mm-hmm.
They've done projections at NASA that shows what would happen with a near miss from an asteroid. And yes, it would rip out a good chunk of the planet's surface, probably throwing us into a basically equivalent of a nuclear winter.
Shit.
Yeah. It's not fun. So, yeah, I'm looking at the fact that they can see this thing coming towards them going, oh, no, you're boned regardless.
Yeah.
And
it is one of those things where, like, it only really becomes handwave because it's like, well, it's a kid's show, I guess.
yeah.
There's a reason when it got
Like,
that
aimed at
close,
little
Chewbacca
kids.
stopped trying to escape.
Yeah, I'm sitting there. I mean, yeah, that's the only reason I can take it is there's the little voice of, like, Tom Servo in the back of my head going, it's just a show. You really should just relax, I'm like, yeah, really. No.
Yeah, like on Doctor Who or Torchwood, it would be like, wait, but on this, it's like, well, I mean, this is aimed for like little kids,
Yeah.
so
I know, just the fact that they
Like-
felt the need to see it from the freaking street.
yeah, like
I was-
it is a thing. It is a thing where you could have just had it like it's still in a collision course, but it's still out. It hasn't hit the atmosphere yet, and it's
Mhm.
just a matter of, oh well, we're fucked. And then it comes, everything gets redone. It's like, oh, there you go.
Yeah, and of course the fact that it's not only heading for Earth, it's heading right for their road. I'm
And I
like,
love how it's only the people from Andrea's party that go out to watch their imminent demise.
Yeah. And they'll just all run off randomly.
yeah, there's. I was just waiting for some guy at the end. It's like, all right, the asteroid's going away. All right, let's do the monkey. Yeah. Freaking like Johnny Bravo style. Idiot. Oh God. But yeah, it's just like no. That's the point where it kind of broke my suspension of disbelief there. The fact that they could see it from the street was just like, oh God. All right, final thoughts.
All right, so Matt's final thoughts are that this was a great episode, even better than last week. Also, very adult topics such as death, butterfly effect, and self-sacrifice for the greater good. Something that makes Sarah Jane still stand out among children's shows, treating them almost as smart as adults, even if there are a few overly silly moments, like getting chased by very small monsters.
All right, so when Matt gets better, remind me that I owe him a kick to the dick.
Oh?
Yes, he used the term "the greater good," and that's a swear. That's a dirty phrase. There has never been any good out of anybody doing something for the greater good. The greater good is just the way that people that do bad things justify it.
This is self-sacrifice, which is
So it
rarely a bad
seems.
thing.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the reasons that I hate Albus Dumbledore, but not a Harry Potter podcast. All right, so Thomas.
I very much enjoy the hell out of this story. I will admit, and the second episode had a few instances near the end that almost got me to cry, which didn't happen when I was watching this before. But yeah, on the rewatch, it really hit me in the gut. Which I will give anything that can manage that credit, whether it's like otherwise crap or just generally good or great. I would definitely say that this is recommended viewing if people are going to check out the Sarah Jane Adventures. Like there is still some stuff here and there where it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, there's an ultra nitpicky thing you brought up, but then there's other stuff where it's like, well, hang on, that for the most part I basically just let slide because it's like this is like aimed at a younger audience than Doctor Who. But yeah, I enjoy the hell out of this one.
All right. Bill?
All right, so I would say so. This episode is kind of it's foreshadowing turn left, and it kind of just shows a small example of what that sort of story can be in the Doctor Who universe. Unfortunately, they also do a lot of a wizard did it in the process, which isn't great. But I think it's a very good episode. It hits a lot of character moments, a lot of emotional points. It also has a really difficult first act and tropes that I kind of am tired of seeing on TV. So it definitely averages out on the positive side. But there's still, yeah, some. I still wish that the sort of plot, especially as we see it in Act 1 in its unadulterated form, would stop being so common on TV.
All right.
Tim's next.
I think this was surprisingly mature for a children's show. I mean, emotionally mature, not adult mature. And that gets it major points for me. Because it was a well-written story. The character of Maria was handled well. I'm sorry if I missed it, but did anyone mention the fact that, or I think, the trickster looks an awful lot like a Cenobite?
Nobody mentioned that. That should have come up with my arguments over the fact that he's...
Yeah. I especially
I
noticed
must
that...
be influenced by the puzzle box in this episode.
Yes. They open the puzzle box and the trickster shows up.
Yeah.
What are Cenobites from?
Hellraiser.
Yeah, Matt was going to do that for an opening bump, and of course he got sick, so...
But, and I did like the way it sort of, in the end, brought Maria's dad into the mix, into the inner circle type thing.
You obviously didn't watch the next episode trailer. It doesn't. He reacts badly.
Oh, well. There's a brief moment of glory I had. Anyway, this was I just think this was a really well done episode. That's basically what I have to say.
All right. So is that to me?
Yes, it is. Yep.
All right. So I agree this is better than last week's episode. But it does have its issues. It has some good emotional moments. It has the potential to be good, but there's just a few things that's not executed well, and a few things they fall back on that makes it kind of teeth grindy. And that and the Maria learning or trying to get information from people eventually triggers my get on with it reflex. To the point that it gets on my nerves a bit. The second act is a lot better than the first, but still has some issues. The writing and acting are not really that much of a problem in that one. It's mostly the special effects that get to me. So it's good. It's good. It's just not great. All right, let's ratings this.
So Matt gives this a 5 out of 5.
Matt flat fives it. All right. Well, that's going to be an issue for a lot of people because a lot of people gave these 4.5s and stuff last time.
Yeah.
Thomas, you gave it a 4 last time. What are you giving it now?
I honestly don't know what I would have given it on my first rewatch, but honestly, on my second rewatch, I agree with Matt. I'm giving this a 5.
All right, Bill?
I cannot give it higher than a 4.
So you are putting it on par with last week's?
Sure. I feel like last week was a whole other year ago, and I do not even remember that time.
All right, Tim.
There's been so much going on.
I will go with the majority and give this a 5.
All right. And I'm planning on giving it a 4.5. Because I did say it was better than last week's, but it is not perfect. And that makes me right, with an average of 4.7.
Which is the highest thing this season we've rated since Turn Left, I think. Because nothing in Series 12 touches it.
Yeah, it's higher than anything we've rated in Series 12. Goes to show you.
Yeah, wow, looking at everything, it's Turn Left and then this, and then everything else.
So it seems if we want to watch things we rate highly, maybe the next show should be, or maybe the next thing we go to should be Wizards and Aliens.
So a 4.
To follow RTD around.
A 4.7 puts this at number 29 out of how many things reviewed? 334. It's up there pretty high, and it is on par with Stolen Earth: Journey's End, which was made around the same time, Torchwood's Countryside, Day of the Doctor. It is better than The Bells of St. John, The Ark, Return of Dr. Mysterio, The Magician's Apprentice, The Witch's Familiar, The Invasion of Time, The Ghost Monument, Arachnids in the UK, Talons of Wang Chiang, and The Seeds of Death. But it is not as good as The Pyramids of Mars, Dalek, Genesis of the Daleks, Empty Child, Doctor Dances, Time Heist, Macra Terror, Tooth and Claw, etc. Yeah, there we go.
We rated Arachnids in the UK that highly?
Yeah, we...
Why do I barely remember it?
Yeah, but that's all we really have to say about whatever happened to Sarah Jane.
Yeah, so regular viewers know the drill. Otherwise, please leave your comments below. What did you think of this episode? Did you watch Sarah Jane Adventures? And yeah, of course, subscribe if you want to keep getting our Doctor Who and related shows reviews and our news. Or follow if you're watching on Twitch.
All right, so next week, this will end our tribute to Elisabeth Sladen. We move on to our tribute to John Barrowman, doing the first of 2 Torchwoods we will do this season. It's going to be Torchwood Small Worlds, written by Peter J. Hammond and starring John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper, Bern Gorman as Owen Harper, Naoko Mori as Toshiko Sato, and Gareth David Lloyd as Ianto Jones. See you next week.
Until next week.
I don't even
Bye-bye.
remember this episode.